go and look, and I had the president of our local chapter of the John Birch Society on my show
Oh,
2
very
weeks
cool.
ago, and they put out a magazine and they rank everybody on how they are doing compared to the Constitution.
Hmm.
Lindsey Graham is like, he's down there with like Jim Clyburn. I think Jim Clyburn was 10%.
Hmm.
Um, and then so Lindsey Graham was like, depends on election seasons. You can see he gets more constitutional, but he's still at like 48%, I
Hmm.
think,
Hmm.
and that's consistently throughout his career.
Yeah, but who
And
ran
then you
against
start
him? Who
seeing,
ran against him last time?
oh, total socialist Nancy Pelosi plant.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, but you know what I did? I didn't vote for either of them. I wrote myself in.
Hmm.
I can't in good conscience vote for one of these two. So I'll
And
just vote
I'm
for
the same.
myself.
And I'm the same way. That's why I didn't vote for Donald Trump both times. Do I think he was the lesser of the two evils both times? I absolutely do.
Yes.
But I'm not going to waste my vote on the lesser of the two evil. I'm not going to vote
Right.
for evil.
No. No, I'm not going to do it anymore. And
Mm,
it's even to the point where it's like, what's the point of voting now?
yeah.
Honestly,
Well,
they're just going to change the votes to whatever they want and put whoever they want in the
well,
White House.
again, that's where we differ. Because who's they?
Yeah.
Who's they? I mean,
No. I mean,
I'm not a big
follow the
fan of.
money.
Yeah, sure, but I don't think any of these people. I don't think there's one guy running the show. I don't think it's the Trilateral
No.
Commission or the Bilderbergs or the Rothschilds or the any of those. Okay, I don't think there is. I think it's just different guys at different times and guys and gals probably just wanting things to go their way, and sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. But your co-host Mike, he said
Yeah.
something on your podcast that and coming from a self-described anarchist is what he describes himself as, which I'm not.
Mm,
I think that's a little bit of
mm,
theater, which is
it's
fine.
not. Yeah.
But and I'm paraphrasing him as well, but he said on your podcast, don't worry about what you can't change. Just work towards success. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is basically the serenity prayer, which is a good way to look at things.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
is.
So his view on anarchy is probably different from yours. He's probably would be considered a minarchist, which is kind of like the minimum amount of intrusion
Mm-hmm.
possible on the guy, But I think he just likes using the word anarchy better. Um, and
He's not
that's
going to run around with a Guy Fawkes mask and blow
no,
up
he's
buildings.
more of a like he's lived in a teepee for 14 months, I think, in the
Mm-hmm.
Upper Peninsula of which like he's totally fine with dropping out of society for a
Mm-hmm.
while.
Yeah.
um, he's more of a non-interventionist type of guy.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
But his opinion
but
there, I think that statement was it was
yes,
simple, basic, and if you follow that rule, I think you'll be
right.
fine.
And that's really what we're trying to do with our podcast. We always talk about how we want to make Kershaw County, South Carolina, the freest county in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to work out from there. Maybe our neighboring counties would want to follow our example. Um, or we will attract like-minded people to our county, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
the Free State Project in New Hampshire.
Okay. Okay.
But we can't. I tell people like our local Kershaw County GOP. I tell them, why are we trying to fight against the Democratic National Committee as Kershaw County GOP? Why don't we worry about the people running for the county council or sheriff? Which our sheriff is they are Republican and Democrat, and we elect our sheriffs here. It's
Mm-hmm.
really strange to me, but I thought, why don't these are the people who directly affect our lives? The other folks, like even like our governor, if we don't let him, he's not going to directly affect our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Like the mask mandate stuff. If the governor comes out and says, it's mandatory for everybody to wear a mask," we can tell him, "F you, I'm not wearing a mask."
Yeah.
What is he going to do?
Yeah.
You're going to send a National Guard in to put masks on our face?
Yeah. I don't
No,
think so. Well,
no.
it's funny you say that. I'm we're trying to get out and get back into the world on vacation, but
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to do that because
Yeah.
uh, different places had different mandates. And
Yes.
I'm a pro-vaccine person. I'm a pro-social distance person. I'm a pro when it's prudent. I'm a pro-mask wearing person when it's prudent. I was looking into going back out to Southern California, to Malibu. There's the Malibu RV resort, which is a wonderful place to stay. You camp, you pitch a tent, and you have the overlook of the Pacific Ocean. You can see the LA skyline. It's just, but you don't have cell phone service because you're back in a little nook. It's very cool.
Nice.
And but I looked on their website, and their mask mandate, and this is per California law or per LA County law or whatever it was, that you have to wear a mask at all times when in the park, whether you're inside or outside or alone or with people. So in other words, if you're sitting at your tent with nobody around, roasting a hot dog over a fire, you have to have your mask on.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm not going to do that. And second of all, they're not going to enforce it.
No.
They're not going to do it. I know the people that run the place.
Yeah,
but they had to post this out there because that's what the government says. That's what the law says. And it's ridiculous. I'm just not going to, I go on vacation to unwind, not to fight. And I'm not going to go someplace where I got to fight.
No. So I have a concert coming up next week in Asheville, North Carolina. It's like the People's Republic of Asheville. Very liberal. Well, liberal's not a good word for it. It's communist basically. And, but in order for me to get into this concert venue, I have to show a vaccine card or a negative COVID test within the last 48 hours.
Yep.
So I have to give them some of my personal medical information in order to go into a concert and enjoy a show. Now, my choice as an American is to not patronize that business. If I don't like the rules for that business, then I'm not going to spend my money there. The problem is I already spent my money. I bought my tickets 3 months ago. Yeah. And then they came out with this rule.
Well, was this the venue saying this or the government saying this? Because it's a big difference to me. Okay. If it's the venue saying this, then I'm okay with it.
Right. I'm okay with them doing it too. But what's going to happen is I already have my tickets. They're non-refundable. So I'm going to print off myself a COVID test form and I'm going to sign it and saying a negative test and I'm going to go enjoy the show.
Yeah.
That's just what I'm going to do because I already spent my money. My favorite band, probably going to be the last time I ever get to see them. And I'm not missing it. So,
why last time? Are they breaking up or?
Well, they've been touring for 30 years.
Okay.
But.
Well, if they're like the Rolling Stones, you only got 25 more to go, right?
Yeah, they might. You never know. I feel like our rights to freely travel between states will probably be much more limited in the future, in the next year or so. I think it's going to be more and more difficult as time goes on to travel and to do business.
Well, and we've segued into the whole Corona thing, which is good because that was the plan anyway. But I'm going to link the coronavirus to the Afghanistan thing. The whole thing for going to Afghanistan was to get Osama bin Laden. When the coronavirus first came out, and was first, okay, this is going to be a big deal. This is going to be a bad thing. Here's what we need to do, people. We need to social distance. If you're around a bunch of people, you need to wear a mask. You need to wash your hands, okay, which you should have been doing anyway, but you really need to wash your hands. If you're sick, stay home. And the reason is because we want to flatten the curve because this is a virus. Until we get a vaccine, people are going to get it. We need to make sure the hospitals aren't jammed packed. Okay, done. As far as I'm concerned, you don't need to talk about anything else. You're done. It's like anything else in life where the solution is simple.
Yeah, it's reasonable.
But implementation isn't necessarily easy. Yeah, that's all very reasonable. Okay.
Yeah.
If you've got a coronavirus going out there, and you know some people, you've got extremists on both sides. You've got the people that say, okay, everybody needs to stay in their home for 3 years until this is done. And we'll just call out for food. Okay. They don't know what they're talking about because who's cooking the food? They're not cooking it from home. And then you get
unreasonable.
Yes. Right? And then you got the ones that say, well, it's no different from the flu. Yeah. It's a whole lot different from the flu. It's nothing like the flu. Okay. The solution is like normal. It's somewhere in between and you need to be reasonable. You don't shut down the economy. You don't tell everybody you have to stay home. You're just reasonable and prudent. You got to be that way. And it's simple, but the implementation isn't easy. And trying to convince people to do the right thing isn't easy. If you're so many people, if you're not 100% on one side or 100% on the other,
Mm-hmm. Well, that's where it
then
is
you're
today.
you've sold out to the man.
Everybody's got their tribes.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
R's and D's, and if I say something against the Republicans, I'm automatically labeled a liberal snowflake.
Hmm.
If I say something against the Democrats, I'm a Nazi, and I'm like, okay, this is it's unreasonable conversations.
Yeah.
There's unreasonable people, and there seems to be more and more of them every day.
Well, even within the parties. I mean,
Yes.
the Democratic Party, you've got the progressives and you've got the moderates and you've got the sort of conservatives. You've got the old school, the new school. The Republicans are the same way. I mean, when I was a young man, Missouri was 100% Democrat. Occasionally they'd get a county supervisor who was a Republican, maybe a Republican governor every once in a while, but the state reps, the senators, the mayors, everybody was a Democrat. Now, outside of St. Louis and Kansas City, the city of, there are no Democrats. There just aren't any. Okay. No. It's all Republicans. And in the state of Missouri, the government has been trying to raise the gas tax. And to be fair, we haven't had an increase in our gas tax for like 25 or 30 years. Probably needs to be increased because it's not a percentage thing. It's a fixed rate thing, so much per gallon.
Yeah.
But they put it to the voters several times, and time after time after time, the voters have voted it down. Now, I was not for voting it. I voted for it, okay? But the voters voted it down. So I said, okay, the people want it. In my opinion, it's because it wasn't packaged correctly. It wasn't defined properly. They weren't going to guarantee the funds are only going to be used to fix the roads. Yeah, they're probably going to be used to fix the roads, but we might take some out and put it towards the schools too. Well, no, that's not what we want. So the Republican legislature just passed okay, we're going to have a gas tax. So this had nothing to do with the Democrats, nothing to do with them. That they couldn't have stopped it if they wanted to.
There's no, they can.
This was 100% Republican thing.
They took the blame for it.
They are. But again, I mean, my state representative, you got a Republican who's just a dishonest, bad person. Yeah. And the Democrat who ran against him, his day job was as a wrestler. Okay, he would go into Knights of Columbus halls and have a wrestling tournament. He'd put on a mask and he'd be a wrestler. That's what he did for a living. Okay, awesome. Come on, you can't take these people seriously. So it's all Republicans.
Yeah. Well, my state, for instance, in South Carolina, our governor is a Republican. And when it all started, he said, I am not going to shut down businesses. I am not going to make a mandate to shut down businesses. A month later, he shut down the businesses.
Yeah.
All right. And then, no, we're not going to do mask mandates. Then all of a sudden, all these different municipalities start doing mask mandates. And he didn't do anything to stop it, which he really can't. And then it's coming back around again. Now it's getting close to election season where everybody's going to start announcing next month or the month after for our 2022 elections. Now I'm not going to shut down businesses. I will never shut down South Carolina business. And be like, wait a second, you just did.
Yeah.
And you said you weren't going to do. And so the people here in South Carolina are sick of it. Just like Fauci, when he comes out and saying, no, you don't need to wear a mask. And yes, you do need to wear a mask. And now, if you're vaccinated, you don't need a mask. But if you're unvaccinated, you need 2 masks and all this. And so everybody's just saying, all right, screw this. I'm going to do whatever I feel is best for me.
Yeah.
And leave me alone.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely where South Carolina is. Leave me alone. And then you have people on Facebook you're basically Adolf Hitler reincarnate if you don't get vaccinated. You just want to exterminate everybody because you're not getting vaccinated.
And you've got the ones on the other end.
Yes,
that this whole thing is just a ruse. There's no coronavirus. It was just made up so that you can go ahead and
there definitely is coronavirus. I will say that there's no way you can deny it.
Well, that's where Rush Limbaugh, may he rest in peace. That's when he lost me. When he actually made the statement on his show, hey, look, this whole coronavirus thing has been invented to beat Donald Trump in the election. I thought, okay, I'm done with you because that's just ridiculous.
I mean, I think the real argument, the real thing people need to be worried about is where did this virus come from? How is it? How did it come to be? How did it get in the United States? And that's what we need to worry about. We know where it came from. We know who funded that research. How did it get released? Was it intentional or accidental? That's where the you know the shadow is.
Yeah, that's and that's the whole thing. And in my opinion, and